the day I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up. I like the waves. We'll rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up. And we'll do it 1,000 times again.
Hello Pirate Family! As we welcome this new month, we want to reflect back on February as Black History Month. It is a time we remember the great contributions of African Americans throughout history. But February is not the only time that we should reflect on their heritage. No, we should remember and show respect throughout the year. Today we want to share with you 3 interviews of our own Yakima District employees about their African American heritage. First, let's turn our attention to Curtis Johnson. You all know and love him on the part of our Davis security team.
Hey Pirates, good morning. This is Curtis Johnson, your security and family member. I was asked about what my experience has been like being Black, of course, and celebrating Black History Month. I thought to myself, wow, what an honor. How nice is that I get to share my story. So I actually took the time to research a little bit more about where we come from in my family, but also where we come from as a people. And it is true, we did come over by way of slave trade. My family landed in Louisiana and the Mississippi area. And in that process, my great-great-grandfather apparently was one of the last Africans that was sold in the slave auction. So that's a rich history that is very painstaking, but it's also honoring. I think it's very honorable for me to know where I come from. And more importantly, I think it's important for everybody to know where you come from, because you didn't just come from Yakima and you didn't just come from Sela, but a lot of times that's what we represent these days. So we have to take into account, what was the journey like? Well, the journey for us as a family was the migration process, coming from Louisiana and finding employment, working to build the dams across the country. And we ended up going all the way through from my great-grandparents and my grandparents, raising their families, my aunts and uncles and mom and dad. Well, not my dad, because that would be incestual and it'd be weird. But my mom's family is Black. So that's their migration story. My dad's family is Tex-Mex. So they came from Texas, Mexico area, and they also had a migration. So we're blended in this life and in our society. And the beauty of that blending is we, as individuals and leaders of our own self and our families, get to choose how we see the world. I choose to see the world through a loving filter. I love and I live to love. And with that being said, I think if a lot more people focus their attention on loving one another to make it better for everybody, then I think that would make a better society, but also a better world. We would be better people. And that's one thing that my family focused on as African Americans, Black Americans, is to be educated, to be dedicated to your cause, and to be respectful, and to do what's right, to be respected. So I don't know anything else in the world except for to love. I do know what hatred feels like. I've experienced racism as a youth here in the Valley, down in Toppenish. I grew up when all of my friends were brown for the most part. There were farm children that we did associate with, but those kids came up to Yakima for private school. So life is a beautiful gift that we all get to share in. The best part in this process of sharing is we can make an impact or we can have an effect. And I'd rather be impactful to the many, many, many people that I get to share my life with. And a lot of it is you as students, but as humans. And I believe that if we all continue to do this together, then things can change drastically. Yes, we've been through a lot this year, actually the last 4 years, 5 years, watching how our country has changed and the dynamic of Black Lives Matter, the different movements that have happened, the equality for women and women's rights, the Me Too movement. But more importantly, recently with the elections and stuff, I know I'm not a person that likes to get involved with political things, but as you all know, it seems like politics kind of interfere with everything. But in today's society, I still think the most important factor is we as a people have the power to change what is not right. But you have to be willing to do that. So I pledge to all of you that I'm willing to be the best me I can be every day so that I can help you, and I can help you, and I can help you. Because all together, we all come together and we help each other. And that's what we live for, is to live loving and love living. So I guess the journey and the migration of being Black in America, I don't really see the color piece. I've experienced it. I know that it is there. I'm very aware of what racism is and how the system works. But I choose to overstand that and overlook those things. I don't ignore it, but I continue to move forward for a better me, for a better tomorrow, for a better you, and for everybody else. With that being said, I hope I fulfilled the question of what my journey has been like. And I will tell you that it is one that I hope to share with all of you and the many, many, many students, Davis family members that I've shared with already. I continue to strive for the journey, and I look forward to serving, hopefully one day, maybe your kids. With that, I love you and be blessed. Take care.
Thank you for that wonderful information. Next we have is Miss Belle Davis. She is the principal at Robertson Elementary, and she is here to give us her insight on the importance of Black History Month.
Hello, YSB. My name is TJ Belle Davis, and I am the proud principal of Robertson Elementary. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Black History Month and why it has been such an important part of my life. The reason why it's been important to me is because Black History Month is something that my family has celebrated pretty much every single day. We constantly reflect on the contributions that we make to society. And it goes all the way back to a story that I'm going to share with you about the women in my family. All right, so here we go. In 1910, my great-grandmother, Amanda Jennings, migrated from Alabama to California prior to the Great Black Migration. She was a young bride riding a segregated train all by herself. She sat in the back and was covered in soot from the coal on the train from the time that she arrived. She was married to a building contractor that built a 3-unit property in West Los Angeles, California. They lived in one of the units and eventually had 2 girls, one of them being my grandmother. Sadly, he died in a work accident, so she ended up being a single mom, taking care of her family, and she remarried. So my great-grandmother, Amanda, did not have a lot of formal education. So she got her 8th grade diploma in her early 60s. She always stressed education for my grandmother and her sisters. Barbara Donnelly, my grandmother, she earned her college degree in her 40s after her children became adults. My mother, Regina Donnelly, also went to college, and she graduated in her 30s when I was in high school, and I finally remember those days. And then finally, there's me. I am the first in my family to graduate from high school and college before marriage and children. And then I became a teacher, and now I'm the proud principal of Robertson Elementary. So just a few key tips. Suggestions for celebrating Black History Month. I would say ask your parents and grandparents, like talk to your family members about communication or letters or movies or videos or experiences that you know of that you can share. I think it's best to learn history from your family's experiences, kind of like what I shared earlier. And then also Netflix, Hulu, there's amazing shows and documentaries that you can watch that I've watched also. So just take a look at them and just decide what's appropriate for you and your family. And then lastly, read some books. There are wonderful children's books out there that tell stories of notable African Americans and their contributions to American history. Like I have some here that I'm just going to share with you. Like there's 19 copies in the district of this book, and this is Ron's Big Mission. So here's one. They also have this one, Amazing Grace. There's 18 copies of this one, so there might be one in your school. If not, you can check your local library. Amazing Grace. And let's see. There's 16 of this one. It's called Henry's Freedom Box. That's another one. I like to pick these because they show children. I think children are great contributors to society as well. So you can make history even though you're a little one. And this is my favorite. This is the story of Ruby Bridges, and there's 19 copies in the district. So if there's a way that you can get one from your school or your local library, that would be great. And I think my final words, I would just say that Black History Month is a lot of fun. I mean, you can build relationships with people, try some new food. Like I love collard greens and I love black eyed peas. There's just certain dishes that are traditional in my family for holidays. That's a good thing to try, especially if your family loves to cook. And just have fun. Just have fun as you learn about different cultures. And then finally, just thank you. Thank you for listening to my family story and celebrating Black History Month. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Miss Belle, for that insight. We would now like to go to our Davis student, Daisy Trinidad, for a speech she wrote about Power in the People. This speech was written to inspire people just how MLK inspired Daisy.
Hello all, my name is Daisy Trinidad. I grew up here in Yakima, Washington. I was taught to respect myself and others, to stay humble, and to understand that others may have similar values or different values than me. I was taught to never give up, and no matter who or what gets in the way, to never let that stop me from becoming that role model I've always wanted to be to my younger siblings and to future generations. In addition to my morals and values, I've come to understand the rights and freedoms I am granted from living in the United States of America. These are rights and freedoms that my ancestors didn't have. There is so much meaning behind that word freedom. As an immigrant living in this country, I may not receive the same opportunities as an American citizen, but I have chosen to make the best of everything that comes my way. If this speech can make a difference to at least one person, then I am grateful for that, because I know it only takes one amazing person to make a difference for all. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. exemplified that leadership. So let's get together as a community and make a difference so that our children can grow up in a country where outcomes are not predicted based on the color of their skin. Let's build a community in which we celebrate the diversity we all bring toward making this country everything it was intended to be. I'm doing my part. Are you? Thank you.
Daisy, thank you for speaking for the Davis students. Finally, we have joining us Mr. James, our very own ELA teacher. Mr. James reflects back on the meaning of Black History Month.
Hey everybody, this is Mr. James, English teacher, Davis High School. I've been asked to share some of my thoughts on Black History Month. Though February has been designated as the month that society celebrates and acknowledges the achievements of African Americans, I personally celebrate who we are, where we are, where we've been, and where we're going every day. I do so because of the blood, sweat, and tears that came before me. I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for my ancestors, and I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't specifically for my grandmother, who moved from Tennessee to Detroit, Michigan during the Black Migration. For those of you who don't know what that is, the migration was a 60-year period where African Americans moved from the southern United States to the north. My grandmother was in her early 20s when she moved to Michigan, and she was completely on her own. Over the years, she became the matriarch of a very large, close-knit, hardworking, and successful family. I think she would be really proud to see what her progeny has done. The generation before me raised ministers, educators, business persons, artists of all types. These are my cousins right now. You know, this is who we are. When I reflect on those things, my main takeaway is always the word culture. When Africans were kidnapped and enslaved, their identity and their culture was taken away from them. From then all the way up to now, it's been an African American tradition to create culture. First out of necessity, and later on just because we're so good at it. Ours is a story of survival, triumph, and what it means to be human. It's a legacy I celebrate and I try to build upon on every single day. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James, and as well as the other guests who also came to join us today. As we take a moment to pause and reflect on the importance of Black History Month and extending this honor each and every day.
Rise like the day, I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times